lovely people. I hope that you all are doing well. This time we have Mitchell Osborn with us, who is an animal communicator, professional psychic medium, tarot card reader, and mindfulness transformation coach. In this podcast, he will talk about learning animal communication, understanding the feelings of animals, dealing with the pet loss, and much more. So, without any further delay, let's get into the video. Hello, Mitchell.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I am wonderful.
Welcome to my channel.
Thank you.
And I'm sure that my audience are going to learn something new today by this podcast. Okay, so
I hope so. I'm a teacher at heart, so yes.
So I'd like you to start by introducing yourself to the audience.
So my name is Mitchell Osborn. I'm from Central Florida over in the USA, depending on where you're watching this from. Home of Disney World and Mickey Mouse, very close to that. And I'm a native Floridian, so I've been here all my life. I do love it. I love the warm weather. I love being surrounded by water. I am a Pisces, so that's good. I have been in the fitness industry for almost a little over 32 years. Mm-hmm. And also at the time I started that kind of work, I was also doing acting and theater work and stuff like that. I owned an improv theater for many, many years. But then about 20 years ago, I started diving into kind of all things metaphysical, and started, studying psychic work, medium work, tarot cards, pendulum. Those are some of the things that really resonated with me. And so that was like December of 1999, right as the millennial changed. Mm-hmm. And then I started working professionally as a tarot card reader about 2008, 2009. And then shortly after that, animal started really connecting with me, and I do animal communication as well as read tarot cards. Mm-hmm. And then in the last probably 5 years, I've really dove into mindfulness and meditation, got a 500-hour certification in hypnotherapy. So I combine all of that in my part-time career as a psychic and medium, tarot card reader, animal communicator, and mindfulness transformation coach. While still doing my full-time job in fitness.
So the one thing we're basically focusing is animal communication.
Yes.
So would you mind telling us that the first time you discovered that you can communicate with animals? And is it something that you're born with or it can be learned?
So I was growing up, I was, attracted to animals. I had like kind of an imaginary underground place. And when I look back on that, this was like when I was like 9 or 10, mm-hmm. Like I would stand on this rock and imagine I would go down in the earth and there would be animals and like fairies and sprites and elves and, all kinds of animals and snakes and reptiles. So I look back and think that was probably me connecting to the elementals and the earth elements. And I was, funny enough, in my family, I had 2 brothers, and we had a few animals, but I seemed to always be the one that when they passed away, I would be the one that would go bury them. Nobody else wanted to. Mm-hmm. So it was like death and animals was, something I didn't mind being with. And as a Pisces, a lot of Pisces are very cool with death. They believe it's the last sign of the zodiac and stuff like that. And then when I started, studying mediumship, psychometry, which is when you touch an object and you get impressions or feelings and thoughts, pendulum and tarot cards, animal communication was not part of that. But I started noticing like around, 2007 that, my then partner, I noticed the animals were like, I kind of knew what was going on with them. I really connected with them, mm-hmm. So I was opening up to them a bit more. And it was just kind of fun connecting with them. Not so much like having conversations, but like looking at them like they're wise beings, like sentient, sage beings. And, sometimes I'm like busy doing something and the cat will come up and rub against me and I'm like, no, leave me alone. And all of a sudden I realize, no, he's trying to get me to slow down and pet him because I'm so stressed right now. And I'll be able to do more if I do take a breath and slow down. And I believe as many psychics and mediums believe, and not all of them want to tell you that because they may fear you're going to steal their business. But I believe we're all intuitive. We're all psychic. I believe we all have medium mystic abilities.
Yeah, that's
Just
what
like
Fernando told me.
Yeah, yeah. And Fernando's a good friend of mine. We think a lot alike. And just like you and I, we can both sing. I cannot sing like Pavarotti, Celine Dion, but if I practice, I can probably get a little bit better. But chances are I'll never be really good. And there are people who have never really sung, but all of a sudden they start singing, and people are like, where does that talent come from? And it's just a little bit more natural, a little more innate. There's the belief that maybe they brought it into this lifetime, it was from a past life, or it's just part of their toolbox that they come in with. So with psychic and mediumship and intuition, I believe we all have it to different levels and degrees. But just like any ability, we can enhance it, grow it, and strengthen it. I personally don't use the word gift, because gift makes me feel like when someone says, my gift is, I immediately think, well, are you special? Like the one where I will say I have a gift is and I feel like it was given to me, my ability to work with people. And then when I'm done working with them, I can walk away and I don't hold on to that pain, that anguish from them. Because a lot of psychic and mediums are very empathic, which means they feel a lot. And when they walk away or they hang up the phone or they lay down in bed, they're still thinking and they can't let go of that person and their heartache and their heartbreak, where I feel like I have the ability to go click and move on, which I think has been good for the work that I do. But also sometimes it makes me feel, I wonder if I'm very cold, if I'm callous, I'm uncaring. But when I tap inside, I'm like, no, you're just the opposite of that. You just have the ability to do the job. And if we're in a crisis situation, like if you and I are in a house and it's burning down, I'm going to be the one that is like, boom, boom, grab you, go out the door. I don't panic. And then when it's over, I usually fall apart and I let it go. So I do feel we all have that ability, and we can grow it, strengthen it. And sometimes, like I said, I think people use the word gift when it looks so amazing from the start, because then it does almost look like it was a gift.
So you claim to connect, you claim to talk with animals. So would you like to explain the process? So how do you connect with them?
So when I do my work, I'm not with the animal, because I do most of my animal communication. It's about 30-40% of my business, this work that I do. It's usually just with the picture. So that's very similar to like a tarot card, because I'm looking at the card, but I'm connecting to the energy of the animal that is either alive or crossed over. And say you have a cat, and I connect to the cat's energy. You've told me the name. You've told me whether they're alive or not. And you may have told me if there were any issues, but not always. And I just connect to their energy, and usually they start kind of like sharing information. Some animals, it feels like it's a conversation. And what I feel when it feels more conversation-like is that I'm connecting to an animal that is a little bit more enlightened. I will say has it more intelligence, but I don't like that word. But in other words, they have a better way of communicating. The good example is if someone comes to me with a small, like a 5-pound Chihuahua, I usually feel like I'm talking to the animal. If they come to me with like a big, Pyrenees or a big Husky, it usually feels more like that's a dog. And it's not like they communicate. Like it's usually images or just single words like hi, happy. And then sometimes if I don't get much, I feel like I move up to their higher self. I say, or their translator, So like if you do not speak English and I do not speak your native tongue, we might have a third person translating for us. So sometimes that's what it feels like, a translator working between the two of us. And sometimes it's just the animal and I are sitting there, and the energy together I connect to what's above us, what I would call source, or I usually say spirit energy.
Mm-hmm.
And, if they have something to say, or the client, the human has questions, then I'll just kind of ask those questions and get the answers. And sometimes it's very clear audient, like someone talking in my head. Sometimes it's images, which is very clairvoyant. Sometimes it's just a feeling, very empathic. I don't get a lot of taste or smell, but I do every once in a while. Claircognizant, clairgustance, and sometimes it's just claircognizance is just a clear knowing. It's like when you know that you know. Mm-hmm. So yeah, so it depends on what animal.
So if any animal is present in front of us, is it possible to communicate with them?
Yeah, it absolutely is. I jokingly say if there's an animal in front of me, I'm usually like like this. I'm like, because I'm just so in awe of them, like, how you doing? What's going on? When the human comes to me with just a picture, mm-hmm. then I feel like we're working on what's going on with the human and the animal. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so when they're in front of me, I definitely can connect with them. And sometimes they may not really want to talk to me, or they may want to talk their way and not my way. And they're usually not like, I don't want to talk to you. It's just there's not communication.
So you have mentioned communicating with animals that have passed on. So have you learned anything which is strange for the former owner of the pet as well as for you?
Yes, I'm trying to think of some good examples. Because my goal when I connect with either a person that's crossed over or an animal that's crossed over is to find a piece of information or something that I could not know. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times, usually at the end of an animal communication session, and if it's an animal that's crossed over, the message and the whole reason we got together was for the human. So a lot of the times the animals have their issues. The humans think, what's wrong with my animal? Let me talk to Mitch. And by the time we're done, the animal's saying, they need to calm down. They need to slow down. They need to, step into their own power and stop being the victim and abused. And a lot of times it goes back to the human. So, there have been times where I'll say, I'm seeing like a red collar on the fireplace, and they'll say they had a red collar. Once we cremated him, we put the collar around the urn, and that's where his ashes are. So they will show me things like that. One time I was saying like, this is an animal that was still alive, and I said, that went missing. And I said, your animal, I feel like they went missing because they're looking for this younger male. I said, did you have like a kid that's no longer in the house? And they said, oh yeah, my son just went off to college. And I said, well, did you tell your animal that the kid was going off to college? Because here's someone who he slept with in his bed every night for 10 years, and then all of a sudden he's gone. If all of a sudden tomorrow morning you woke up and your brother was gone and nobody told you, and he didn't come back and didn't come back and didn't come back, you'd be like, well, where'd my brother go? Oh, we forgot to tell you. So sometimes, you knew something was wrong, but you didn't know. Sometimes that's going on with the animals. So they communicate a lot. They often communicate, the growth that they want to see in the human, mm-hmm. or the enlightenment. I'm trying to think of some other examples, especially those that are crossed over. Because when they cross over, it's like they can see the clearer picture. It's like they've got Google Maps on. They can see everything that's going on in that person's life. So it's a much more higher level, less emotional kind of a thing. More like a message from God, mm-hmm. but not so much. So it's from their energy.
What do animals feel of humans the way we treat them?
So if I'm tapping into just as just their animalness, their animal being. They're very much usually in that kind of fight or flight, peaceful existence, everything's good. But the moment they're fearful, they're going to run or attack to protect. When I come in at it from a higher spiritual level, I keep coming back to these sentient beings like angels, like different, deities that can come into, this planet, or spirits that come in to help us grow, to help us learn. Just like you are doing this channel, mm-hmm. to help educate people, to mm-hmm. help expand their minds, to help them grow. And there's a fire burning in you of some sort. And I think the same thing goes with the animals. I think their beauty is that they can live in the moment. Just like, when I walk around, I have a lake around my house, and I walk around and I'm just fascinated by the trees. I've always been fascinated by trees. They take just the amount of water they need. They grow, they just reach to the sun. If they fall on your house, they didn't do it on purpose. They grew old, the wind blew them down. It was just, it's the circle of life kind of a thing, I believe the trees often will, they sacrifice their life so that I can build a house to have my own kind of shelter, so it's this beautiful cycle. So with the animals, I think they're here to really help us grow. And that could be just my experience. There could be somebody else who experiences them very differently, but that's the clientele and the people and the connections that I make.
That was very informative for me. And I'm sure that would have been really informative for the audience as well. Losing a beloved one can be devastating. So what do you think is the best way to deal with a pet loss?
First of all, honor them. Experience as much of the pain as you can. Allow those emotions to wash through you rather than hold on to them. Go through whatever you believe the stages of grief and loss are. I'm a big fan of trying to remember all the good stuff. Put up pictures, of the positive things, and that can help you remember all the good stuff. But I almost always say to a client, as deep as the pain is, that's because that's as wide as the love is. Not was, is. So the love is still there, even with the pain that is still there. And if you can look back and see where they came into your life, what they taught you, how they made your life different, then that really helps you understand. Especially when they're, it's like a dog or a cat, and they're only like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years old, because, that's really a short period of time. Versus, most cats and dogs will go, 8, 10, 12. I have a dachshund in my house that will be 19 years old in August. And pretty much he doesn't see very well. He doesn't hear very well. He has one tooth left, but he's happy. He sleeps, he eats, but every week I give him a hug and I say, I love you. As long as you're wanting to hang around with us, great. But the moment are done with this lifetime, or you're in pain, or you're ready to go, you let me know, and we'll either assist you, or you just take your last breath, and we'll love you and move on from there. And as a human, as a person who understands that, the life and death process, I can say that and feel good right now. But I also know as a human, the moment he crosses over, I'm going to feel a physical pain and a loss, because I believe we have those cords, that energy connection. And once they're gone from physical form, that is not there, and it becomes more of a spiritual connection that you have with them. Just like any ancestors or grandparents, especially some you never knew. You have kind of a connection to them because you've heard stories, you've seen pictures. So there's kind of a cool connection. But if you've lost a friend or a grandparent or someone, there was that physical loss and that pain. And then usually you come back to a place of connecting back to the positive and goods. But also, they'll come to me and they'll wonder, did I do the right thing? Should I have helped them cross over earlier because they were in pain? Was it too soon? Was it too long? I feel bad because I left the gate open and they got hit by a car. So there's a lot of guilt and shame and things around that. And those are usually, because when I work with the client, a lot of times I will see the picture before I talk to the client, and I'm writing down a bunch of stuff on the paper. And a lot of times I'll get the message of, don't worry, you did the right thing. The timing was right. I was ready to go. And that's not, it's not always that script, but I write down what I feel I'm getting from them. And then, they can release it a little bit more. And then there's dream time. They come to them in dream time a lot.
Thank you so much. It was really great to talk to you.
You as well. It's been a pleasure.
So would you like to give a last message to the audience?
Yes, I would say, since we talked a lot about animals, two things. Since we talked a lot about animals, just when you see an animal, and it's not just like a dog or a cat or a butterfly or a snake, but when you see an animal and you go, what's that about? Like you're struck by them, you pause, you say, well, that's weird. just in that moment, think about what were you thinking? Where was your mind? Where was your heart? And then just be curious for a moment about that animal. Mm-hmm. If it's a butterfly, just say, what does a butterfly do? It flits around. So maybe I need to flit around more. Mm-hmm. If it's a snake, well, maybe I need to sneak away from this situation. Mm-hmm. You know, if it's a dog playing in the street, oh, maybe I need to be more playful. Mm-hmm. So just be curious about what the animal's doing. And then the second thing I want to say is, remember, because anytime people say, what would you teach children if you could teach them? That your words are powerful. What you say, what you think are powerful. Mm-hmm. If you say, I cannot afford that, then you can't. And you are in a place of lack. If you say, I'm going to choose not to spend my money there, then that's a different feeling. If you don't want to go out with somebody and you say, oh, no, I don't feel good, you're bringing on a dis-ease, a lower feeling. When you say, you know what, thank you for the opportunity, but I'm not going to today. Just say thank you. So because your words are so powerful. So be conscious of how you choose your words and what you think as well. Mm-hmm. Because I always tell people, the things you say about yourself in your head, you would never let another person say. How many people walk by a mirror and they go, ugh, oh, I'm fat, I'm too ugly, I'm this. If somebody else said that, you would challenge them and defend it, but you say those words to yourself in your head, and it's dense energy that pulls you down. And it's a challenge to walk by the mirror and go, wow, you are beautiful. I love you. Talking to myself, I love you. And it took a long time to get to that. So be curious of the animals. Remember, your words are powerful.
Thank you so much. Thanks for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Hey guys, thank you so much for watching this video. And I'm sure that video must have been quite helpful for all of the people out there. If you are new to my channel, subscribe it and also press the notification bell. Comment on this video about your reactions. Like this video and share this video as much as possible.